Welcome to the Rewards Master. If you would, hit both the like and subscribe button, because today we're going to talk about when is 100,000 points better than 500,000 points, or 400,000, or 300,000. You know, in this game, it's not just about how many points you have. It's about how valuable are those points and how are you using those points. So if you would, like I said, hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to dive into it together. All points are not created the same. In fact, when you look at different point ecosystems, and especially if you look at like TPG or other online that kind of give an average point value, you're going to see that some, like Hyatt, are rated like at 1.7 points. You're going to see that some, like Hyatt, are considered to be worth about 1.7 cents per point, and others like IHG are worth a half a cent per point. And that's because when you go to book a Hyatt hotel, oftentimes you'll find a category 1 or a category 2 for maybe 4,500 all the way up to 9,500 points for a night. But when you go to stay at an IHG or a Marriott or a Hilton or most other hotel programs, they're going to be more in the 30,000 point range, or 35 or 40,000 points. And then it all changes again as you start going up the scale and looking at more valuable hotel properties. You know, they're higher category properties. So when you look at these point values, if you consider that, and then you look over at something like membership reward points, transferable currencies, city thank you points, ultimate rewards from Chase, and all of these different transferables, they often say they're worth about 2 cents per point. But I think that those point valuations that we see on the internet really are just a very, very loose guide, because I have found that the way that you travel, way you accumulate your points, and the way especially that you redeem your points is really all the difference. And in this space, in this credit card hobby, there's a lot of discussion about how to accumulate points. And frankly, accumulating points is the easy part of this game. The difficult part is getting great value on redemptions. Now, I hear all the time people who even are making content, and it works for them. I'm not criticizing this, but for them, 1.5 cents per point is a really good redemption, because they'll talk a lot about Chase Travel Portal. They'll talk a lot about Capital One and their portal, and getting, maybe 1.25 cents with Bilt, or getting 1.25 cents with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, or 1.5. That's like the holy grail for many people, of using the travel portal for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And so for those folks, I think that they really consider that to be a good value, because their travel style is all about domestic redemptions. Now, I have found it is difficult to get great value on domestic redemptions, no matter how you do it. The best value is probably by transferring to one of the foreign partners and getting a smoking good deal if there's award availability. I mean, it's just hard to do. I know that, like, if you were to use Finnair, which is really hard to use because you got to call in and use them, you could get a really good point redemption. I think it's 7,000 or 9,000 points you can get a domestic flight with. But man, that's a lot of hoops. It's hard to do. It's like on expert mode. You can, the one I use, if I do domestic redemptions, and I don't do a lot of them because I usually pay for my domestic flights, is I use Alaska. And you can oftentimes, especially on short flights, you can get like 4,500 points, up to 7,500 points, and then all the way across the U.S. for 12,500 points. And those have pretty good availability on American. So that's not a terrible cent per point value. In fact, it comes out to about a 2 cent per point value, which is, for domestic redemptions, is just about as good as you're going to get. But it's not good enough for me. My travel style is I want to use them for outsized value. I try to get 3.5 or better. In fact, I consider almost all my points that I value, my transferable points with Citi, Capital One, Chase, and with American Express, to be worth 3.5 to 4 cents a piece. And then many of my airline points And airline points, a lot of folks just don't consider those to be valuable at all because they're booking them for domestic redemptions. But when you look at like United points, yeah, for domestic redemptions, you might pay 20, 25, 30,000 points for a one-way flight within the US, but you can pay 80,000 points for a business class flight to Europe from the US. That is a way better value. So for me, those points are worth 4+ cents each. And then when you look at like American, wow, they've got Qatar for 42.5 thousand points if you're not originating in the United States, which we often don't. Now, all of this is to say, some people can't travel that way. Some people don't have the flexibility. They don't have the funds to be able to pay for their domestic travel. They don't have a large travel budget. I get it. So for them, 2 cents per point is probably a really, really good deal. And some people even use hotel points and are excited when they get 1 cent per point. I pretty much pay for my hotels because I'm just not willing to trade my points for 1 cent. I'm just not willing to. Some people are. That's not a bad thing. But when you look at these cents per point, my point by all of this is to say, you got to determine what you want to get out of it. And you've got to determine it based upon what your travel style is, what your flexibility is, what your finances are, and what you're hoping to accomplish, what your goal is. Is your goal to travel for free? Well, that's going to look very different than a person who's got the funds to travel, but wants to travel in an elevated style, because one person is going to be able to get more cents per point than the other. But still, the goals are noble, admirable, and make this game and this hobby really, really valuable either way. But what I'm encouraging you to do in this video, and I know I've been ranting a little bit, forgive me for that, but what I'm encouraging you to do is examine your lifestyle, examine your goals, examine your finances, examine your time off, your flexibility, and just determine, what do I want out of this? Because sometimes just how many points you have doesn't tell the story. If you have 500,000 IHG points, well, that's worth something, no doubt. At a half a cent each, that's worth what, $2,500. But if you have, say, 100,000 American points and you value them like I do at over 5 cents a piece, well, then that's going to be $5,000 in value for you. So you see, it just depends. Points are not all the same. And it's not even just dependent on the point program. It's dependent upon you, your travel style, how you use those points. So what I encourage you to do, look at your situation, look at what you have, look at what you want to accomplish, and try your very best to get the best deal you can. But the primary objective should be to travel and meet your goals and just enjoy this hobby, because it, to me, is the most valuable, the most rewarding, and really the most fun hobby a person can have. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, you might consider my channel membership. It's $2.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. I often put out videos for my channel members only, RM Insiders, that is all about great point redemption value on business and first class. So you can check out that in the comments. I've got a link to join the channel. If you would, hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time.